All right, Grizz Nation, we are back. Fight on Montana. Thank you for listening. The last couple weeks, man, I can't thank you guys enough. Luke and I have been uh, amazed by the outpouring of people communicating with us, downloading the podcast. So we really appreciate you. We're glad that we can talk some sports and that you guys can get a hold of us as well. And I can't believe that we get to do this. And yeah, it's a great thing, man. So how are you, Luke?
I'm doing really well. Yeah, I'm just glad it wasn't the outcome that either one of us expected, but I'm super pumped that we are 3-0 because this game before the season even started scared me more than any game in the first 5 games that we are playing just because of who they are. I mean, I shouldn't do this, but I've been reading Sam Herder and some of these other people out there just talking crap about the Grizz that we barely pulled off a D2 win. And that didn't look like a D2 school to me. Those guys were huge. No. There's a reason they're the best D2 school out there, and they've only lost 3 times in 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we won, but it was a lot closer than I think we thought comfortable. But at the same time, it really felt to me like the ball just was not bouncing our direction. I mean, one of the ones that stands out really bad to me was when here our defense just keeps stopping him. We sack the guy, he fumbles, the ball gets kicked, it goes like to the first down mark. They grab my wife didn't understand it. She's like, "What? How do they have a first down?" I'm like, because he kicked it forward, and technically now that they got it, that's a first down yard. I was like, this is just it never happens. It doesn't happen.
Way the ball turns, man.
So
yes. So you guys remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Make sure that you get onto YouTube as well and subscribe to the FCS Fans Nation Network there as well. You can get a hold of us on Twitter and also Instagram at Fight on Montana. And then you guys can find us, myself and Luke on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot to get in contact with us. But not what, like Luke, you started in, man, not what we expected, a 17-10 to win. If you can call it a win, because either way, if we win by 7, that's pretty much looked at as a loss. And if we win by 20, it's a loss. It's looking at it, it was kind of a lose-lose situation. We had nothing to gain from this game except for maybe getting better in a way.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like the coaches poll, I felt like they got it more versus like some of these people, some of the media people throwing their polls out. They just see D2, didn't watch the game, see what happened and unfolded, know about that team. So that's what part sucks. But we're 3-0, and that's what really matters. I mean, even though it was close, really, and I've been talking to other people online about this. I'm like, we can still prove everything. Like, we've got to play Idaho, we got to play Sac State, we got to play UC Davis, the Kitties. Who am I missing?
Portland State, NAU.
Yeah.
Idaho State.
No, one more big one.
Sac State Kittens and Idaho.
And UC Davis.
UC Davis, yep.
Yeah, those 4 big ones are the coin flip ones that I would like to think that they're still coin flips. But we win those games. Everybody that's talking crap about us right now, barely beating a D2 school, won't be saying any of that.
Well, and if you look at it, like we dropped from 12 to 13 in I think the coaches poll.
Media poll. We were 11 in the coaches poll.
Yeah, and so go to 13, and you look at other polls from Sam Herder. He had us at 17 and dropped us like to 21. I've been fighting back with other people too on Twitter. Is like with this, like that was not a Division II team. Like
no.
Their offensive line outweighed us. Their defensive line outweighed our offensive line pretty handily. They've got a lot of talent on that team that they weren't recruited by Michigan, Michigan State, Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan, Western Michigan, that, just go to that school because they have nowhere else to go. And there's also some people that go there and they've been at an FBS school where they've fallen out from, and this is their last chance. Like, their starting quarterback was what? he was a 4-star prospect. That Malachi Mitchell or whatever.
Yeah,
he was a 4-star prospect, and he play it like
well, this was like his 8th year. So
yeah.
Dr. Malachi,
grandfather. Good Lord.
Yeah.
So
that's not your typical D2 school. So
no.
This past weekend, I went and watched a D2 game during the day, beforehand, and I think it was Colorado Mines versus South Dakota School of Mines, and they were good, but you could tell they're D2 and stuff. And I compare those teams to what I saw in Ferris State. I'm like, this is not even close. Not even close. What we saw out there.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you look at who they play in their conference, the GLAC or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
They have Grand Valley State, which Grand Valley State is a perennial powerhouse as well in Division II, which they've won numerous national championships, and that's their rival. So they're equally yoked in that area where they're battling each other. But let's get into some of the stats. They're not pretty, but first downs, they beat us 17-18 in first downs.
Mm-hmm.
Rushing yards, we had 84. They had 129, which was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the most rushing yards we have let this year. Yeah. And our average was like 2. It was not good. Passing wasn't much better at 105, and they had 156. They outgained us by almost 100 yards. Our average play was 4.1. Ours was 3.4. You go down all these areas, man. We had the bright spot for us. We had 4 sacks. They only had 2. But why they won? Thoughts? Let's go before we go into why they won. Luke, give me your thoughts on the game, and then we can kind of go into reasons why they won the game, because I have some thoughts on why they won the game, and it pretty much doesn't have to do with any of the football that was on the field.
No, I guess one of my thoughts is that especially on defense, I felt like our defense was doing extremely well and actually dominated at points. A lot of things were it's just one of those games where the ball doesn't bounce your way and just weird stuff happens. I don't know what holding is, because some guys get tackled. I'm literally yelling at the TV. How can you hold Governor like this? And And on top of that, they're one of the most penalized teams. I think they're the most penalized team in D2. And so, I saw some of those things. I'm like, and our defense just still rallied. And I truly feel like we won that game because of our defense. They kept us in it the whole time and made plays. And I also feel like, and I'll admit I was wrong on this play. The very end, when he threw the backwards pass or fumbled it and we scooped and scored, I wasn't looking at his knee at all. I was just like, how can you not
I wasn't.
Backwards pass? When they showed it, I'm like, oh crap, yep, his knee was down. So he was down. That was the right call. For me, after I saw that, I felt like it was the right call. But if we run that ball back, score that, and do all that, I think that the narrative from the national media and some others is a little bit different than when you have such close game like this.
See, I don't think so. I think if we would have had to beat that team by at least 24 points, like 14 points, 2 touchdowns. I honestly don't think that's enough to say, hey, we dominated that team.
We definitely didn't dominate on offense. I'm just saying our defense did a great job on them, and I think our special teams for the most part did. Our offense, I felt like in the second half is really where they stepped up finally. We were getting pushed around, especially
definitely
all over that first half, and they must have had a come to Jesus meeting, because they looked a lot different in the second half between their pass protection and the line blocking too.
Thoughts on the game? Crowd atmosphere looked amazing there.
That was the biggest crowd we've ever had. I heard 27.
Yeah, it was almost 27,000. Yeah. So, having Sugar Sean O'Malley there, that was really cool to raise the 37. I wish they would have shown that in the broadcast, but I didn't have video for the first 5 minutes.
No one did. A bunch of us were on Twitter going, "What the heck?" I was
right?
To Riley and Greg on the Victory Sports app until finally the the dang video came through, and
yeah. So and then Ferris State beat us, pretty handedly. Our beat us on the O line and D line, rushing and passing. Like I feel like their D line gave our offensive line trouble in the first half, and then I think we got better in the second half, but it wasn't dominating. I don't think our offensive line dominated.
No, I'm just saying they were better
at all. Yeah. Our defensive line, I think our defense did good. Our defensive line, they got pressure, but I really have some questions about our defensive line. And Luke, you can kind of go into that when we kind of go into the offense and defense a little bit. I have some questions for you being a defensive lineman and just what I'm seeing. But let's go into some of the reasons why we pulled this game off. I totally think if you're giving a game ball, like the fans should be definitely getting a game ball because Ferris State had 15 penalties for 106 yards.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of those penalties were crucial points of the game. That point of the game where they were at the 1 inch line, and they got that bomb of a pass, and then it was like a holding, so they like wound up on the goal line. That was huge.
Well, and then they kept getting penalties on the goal line. It was like, all right, move them back another centimeter. Well, no,
exactly.
It's just that was cracking me up.
Exactly. And then the penalties just killed that team. Like I don't know how. And this is going to be really interesting. That I kind of want to follow Ferris State this year. If they continually get penalties like this, it'll be interesting to see how far they go because they're so talented and so big that they can kind of use that in their back pocket where they can just out muscle and out talent the other teams. You just can't do that here in the FCS. But and I also thought our special teams won that game for us too. That punt that pinned them down between the 1 yard line.
Graves caught the ball right there. Some people were
tight roped.
That their guy was down there too, but he got out of the way, so Graves can go ahead and catch that. Like I know some people there might be a penalty, but he can do that, and that was he went back shoulder, caught that.
Oh yeah,
super hard, and that was a great play.
And then Bergen, he didn't run it back for a touchdown, but that was kind of a spot where we needed some momentum, and him just to run forward and catch that ball on the run where I didn't think he was going to go for it, and just all of a sudden he just burst out of there to return that ball to get it into the field position. Like honestly, this game was won because we won the switch on that field position. We kept on switching that field on special teams that wound up winning us the game, and we kind of outlasted the opponent. And Luke, your reasons on why you think that we pulled it out.
Well, I still think though that our offense showed up better in the second half. Sam was throwing some good balls when they let him throw.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Eli started having some good runs and success actually running up the middle. I think where we were struggling is I don't understand some of the play calling. It's 3rd and 2 and we're running it to the outside, and
for the 15th, 16th time where they're fast to the outside.
They're very fast to the outside. And we got when it's first down and you don't get any yards, that puts you behind the sticks automatically. And then all you're doing is try to play catch up, and it limits your playbook and all that. And so, but there's times when like Sam would step up and he was throwing like nice balls. And so like I threw out a tweet on Saturday morning. I was like, Sam Vidlack's gonna have 200 plus yards passing. I was wrong. He only had 105. But we didn't throw the damn ball. I thought we were going to throw the ball all over the field because that's where these guys are susceptible. Instead, it was we ran some more. Like you said, we had 41 rush yards. It's like we were just
41 attempts.
Yeah, 41 attempts. Yeah, 41 attempts. Sorry.
15 passing attempts.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know why we're not letting them open up the passing offense. And I'm watching the film, and there's times when Sam missed a few, like he didn't step up when there's guys wide open and stuff like that. He was getting some happy feet and stuff because our own line wasn't doing what they should do. When they do create that pocket, I feel like he could pick somebody apart.
But they did that. Like and sorry to interrupt. He had some times where he felt the pressure and he didn't make the right choices, but then
Yeah.
he did, and he showed that growth where
Yeah.
he stepped up in the pocket. Like, I don't know how you don't say, "Hey, great job, Sam. We're gonna, hey, you did the right play," and reward somebody. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get growth without actually having to put the guy out there and have him do things and learn things. He's honestly still, like, legitimately still a freshman because he has not played. I know it says sophomore, but he hasn't played anywhere for how many years?
His college snaps are so few that this is the
Yeah.
most. But I guess where I'm going with this is there's glimpses of really good stuff that you're seeing out of him. I mean, it's just like, oh, he's got it. He's got some of that it factor. And I'd really love to see us, especially against like NAU, open it up.
Yeah.
And just plus our receivers. I'm like,
Oh my
we
gosh.
got a lot of good people that are doing good things. Let's open it up and get them the ball. And anytime we get Junior the ball in space, it's like, watch out. You never know what's going to happen. And yeah, I still curious too, like if we count that as a catch when Junior goes way down the field, we're right in position to score again, and it's we're going, and yeah, I'm still baffled. I've watched that over and over again because he grabbed it, took 3 steps, and then he went down, and then bobbled a little bit, but grabbed it back and got up. I'm like, okay, 3 steps. That should be a catch.
Well, and the thing that bothered me was they whistled it a catch, right? Went down, we set up for a play, and we were offside, so they called a penalty on us.
Yeah.
And moved us back, and then they reviewed it.
Yeah,
like,
then they reviewed it.
Yeah. I thought that once a play was happened, like, that's a play. That was actually a play. We were offsides, that they can't go back. And maybe that's I thought that was a rule.
I thought that was a rule too. None of that made any sense. And it felt like like Grady Bennett didn't understand it either. He's like, this 1, 2, 3, that's a catch. I mean, like I said, I'll admit that fumble, run back touchdown, I thought for sure. And then as soon as they showed that knee, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's okay. That's a sack. It's not.
What? And we don't get any perspective, like the Big Sky commissioner. He's not going to say anything. Like, no one's going to say anything about, hey, this was wrong, which I wish they would.
The only thing that so Bobby could, like, coaches can, and he, just not just him, any coach can do this. You can take a play and send it into the office and be like, I don't understand this. Why this? Now, whether he'll do that or not, I don't know. I don't think he does it very often, but we can do that. But I don't know if it ever goes anywhere. I know we've done it in the past, and it's just like, oh yeah, sorry.
Well, and if you don't do that, then you get this crappy ass reffing that we still have. Like, I wish you would do that, because like you've got to tell them that this is not okay. Like, we have probably the worst reffing games in the FCS, probably in all football. Well, there's been some doozies.
The problem is too, though, is like I've heard it from the high school levels on up. It's so hard to get.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep.
It's wild because it's just hard to find people that want to do that. I know I've been asked, but I've got other stuff going, and I can't go ref high school football because my daughter's doing stuff, and I got so many things. But like for me, I'm like, well, maybe one day I'm gonna do that once daughter's out of the house and stuff, because there's just such a need for people that are passionate about football, that understand football, and then can try to call a game. So it's hard for these refs, and I try to feel for them, but when it's like it feels super egregious, I'm just like, what are you doing?
Exactly. Well, let's go into some things that went wrong, man. Let's start with the offense, because like we kind of mentioned, we ran the ball 41 times. Mm-hmm. We passed the ball 15 times. Eli Gilman had a pretty good game, 19 attempts with 86 yards and about a 9 average, when we were only averaging about 2 the whole team. The O-line had a hard time versus that Ferris State defensive line, which they were big and fast.
You're big boys.
Yeah. And then Vidlak just seemed to he finally hit a groove a little bit in that third, fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But kind of struggled to find rhythm. Fun facts for you guys. Second fewest. Montana has the second fewest pass attempts in the whole league, with 65. We that's two less, or two more than the Cats, which have 63 passing attempts.
Wow.
We have ran the ball the most in the Big Sky with 143 attempts. So we've passed almost the least. We've ran the most. And one thing is Idaho State's in one game, they passed for 63 yards. We've only passed 65 times in the whole season in 3 games.
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts?
It's like, pretty wild. I mean, I feel like I said last week, I really felt like we would open it up because it felt like everything I looked at, and not that I got to watch a lot of film, State, but everything pointed to they were susceptible to the pass game.
Well, even the stats said that though too.
Yeah, I mean, then and I don't always believe the stats, sometimes, but it felt like we just came out and was like, let's pound the ball, and I was like, okay, it's not working. No, just it'll work. It'll work.
Doing it.
It's kind of how I was like, gosh, it's not working. Come on, open it up. And then when we started to, that's when we started getting progress. Then it was like, pound the rock again.
Yeah. Well, and that's what was so mind numbing and stupid last year was we still did the same things. And, we're going to, after this game, if we don't pass the ball, you're going to get the naysayers, and they're already out. They're already out last week.
Because I got a few people that were like, should we put Rosie back in? I'm like, no.
Oh, no.
Give Brent a chance here. I think our biggest problem was the fact that the goal is to get out after first down, get to that 2nd and 5, because it opens up the playbook. If second down is 2nd and 10 still, which happened a lot, or 2nd and 13, but that changes everything. Then you're just so behind the sticks, it just messes the whole game up.
Yeah, I feel like our offensive identity is, in 20 years in the later, where we're just running the ball. We are not an SDSU or an NDSU or even the Kittens, where our offensive line is going to maul you to death and just run. The Cats run a different running scheme than we do, totally. And NDSU does a different as well. So I just wish that what we have on offense is we have a really good group of running backs, we have a really good group of wide receivers, and we have a quarterback that has glimpses of being really good, but needs to be able to practice a craft. But I honestly don't, like, 3 games in, this is what I've seen. And hopefully I see something different. I wouldn't bet on it because I saw what they did with last year. Like from 2019 when we had Snead, it's dramatically gotten worse. Our offense has gotten worse every year. I feel and it's not like little. It's huge. Yeah. Huge.
I feel like the coaches trusted Snead more. Like they trusted him to run the offense. And I feel like there's still a little bit of trust there, like trust issues with, can you run all this stuff?
But trust is earned. You just don't just like.
Well, and it's kind of off too because of the Utah Tech game where we just ran the ball the whole time because that was what's going to work. We're just pounding. So that one I kind of throw out. Now that we're getting into conference play, that's what interests me. It's playing teams like NAU, because like NAU pretty. I think last time I looked at their plays, they were 50-50 run pass thing, and so. And the defense they run as a 3-man front, which is more like ours. So I just feel like getting that 3-man front will make the quarterbacks, whoever it is back there, feel better, more comfortable, and go. I'm gonna throw this out right now. I think Vidlak's going to start this week again.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think we're going to pass it as much though. I think they're gonna say, "Oh, there's a 3-man front. We're gonna run."
That's what worries
me. Yeah. I think that I don't think they're going to pass very much.
Now, it depends on which 3-man. I mean, we can get into this later about NAU too, but they have two different 3-man fronts they run. Like against Utah Tech, they were way spread out, but part of that's because of how spread out they are. Against Arizona, they were right down. You had your 0 technique, 1 technique nose, and the other 2 are over the guard. So it depends on what we get there. If they do more of that Utah Tech thing, I think we'll run it because the gaps are so big. Yeah. But if they're down in the center there, well, then you just have the old line, just freaking keep them right there, create that wall, and chuck the ball down the field.
Chuck the ball, yeah. Let's go into our defense a little bit before we get into kind of the NAU as well. But, what are your thoughts about the defense?
I thought the defense played great. Like the linebackers, especially. Look at Hill had 15 tackles, 2 sacks.
Amazing.
I mean, they were flying around. Like I said, that I know you had questions about the D-line. I saw more freaking holding.
Oh, yeah, I saw a lot of holding.
It was just constant. I'm like, what the? Do you not see this? It's like, unless they were ripping their jersey off, they weren't going to call anything. It's ridiculous. And so
Governor got held, like bear hugged and like hugged for that one where I was like, oh, he's gonna get the quarterback. The guy like grabbed him and was like bear hugging him, like
it was bad, but he still got through and made some plays and stuff. I mean, he had two tackles, but they were both for loss. Both of his big plays that he does the bench press afterwards. I don't know what that is, but I love it. I love this bench press thing that he does. He's all jacked up. It's awesome. But I feel like our D-line actually played pretty well, especially here's a big reason. If you look at the quarterback and what they're doing, they're reading our defensive ends. And there were so many times, like, if they would suck down, they're gonna, he's gonna pitch the ball outside, or if he chases that outside, he's gonna go under, and all that. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the game, you started noticing our guys were just coming off and almost intercepting them right at the point where they're handing the ball off, and we were blowing plays up. So that stuff there, I mean, that offense they run is more like that Air Force offense. That's hard it's assignment football. And I thought for the most part, we did a dang fine job, because if you look back at Ferris State, they're used to putting points up on people.
Oh, yeah.
And we shut them down. I mean, I don't care if they're due to D2. They're the best damn D2 school that is in the nation. They should probably be playing FCS. If there's not an FCS school in Michigan,
nope.
Sign these guys up. They should be in the FCS.
Well, and this is like where would they play? Like the Missouri Valley is not going to probably
Ohio Valley, maybe, because they're just
Ohio,
right above Ohio. The OVC, maybe. I don't know, but it's it surprises me. So I mean, with no FCS teams in Michigan, well, who's going to take those drop downs from Michigan State,
exactly?
Michigan? Schools like this school, Ferris State,
State, Grand Valley State.
I did think it was pretty cool that after the game, their head coach was like, "If Houck's ever out, I'd love to come coach here." He's like, "Is it like this every week?" I mean, he thought that was a pretty cool environment, and I think his players. I was saying it last week that they weren't used to the big crowds. I think they fed off it somewhat just as much. They thought, look at this environment. They've never played anything like that before.
Yeah,
sometimes that can juice people up too.
Exactly. I thought the D-line did well. They handled the second half a lot better than they did the first half. The first half, I think they were just getting not manhandled, but I think that the way that they play, they kind of survey that offense and they don't kind of do what they want to do until they kind of feel out the other opponent. And I feel like that their offensive line was just getting a push on our guys where they were able to run it and also just run in the middle and just get those plays. I think that we did a lot better in the second half. Our linebackers, I thought they played amazing.
Well, our defensive line set up to, fill the hole and let our
linebackers definitely. Yeah, and then without that D line, you wouldn't have those linebackers doing those amazing things as well. So I totally get that. Our cornerbacks, I think the cornerbacks and the safeties did an amazing job as well. I just think that sometimes with our safeties and our cornerbacks, especially, our cornerbacks have a tendency of getting beat. And this is what I saw. Like our cornerbacks were off their wide receivers, and I could be a reason why, but I think they were not wanting to get beat deep because of the run that they were running, because there's that one pass that they got. Our guys were beat deep, and this isn't the first time that we've gotten beat before, where I don't know if our guys are just a little bit slower than some of these wide receivers or if it's technique, but we have in the last 3 games have gotten beat a couple different times. And I'm just wondering if it's scheme, if it's maybe just us being a little bit slower in that position.
Some of it definitely is scheme. We're running some different zone fronts out in the back there now that Tim Houck's doing, and I think sometimes we're running zone in the inside and man on the outside, and so it can get things messed up, especially, and that's what worried me too about Ferris State, because the way they mix and match, all of a sudden it's like you got to know which guy you're taking, and especially your zone, if you're switching off, and all of a sudden that running back comes coming out this way, that can really screw things up. And I think at the beginning they were messing with our heads, if you will, a little bit.
Oh yeah. Well, their motion of their wide receivers and their running backs were that really can trick up some players and some teams.
But I mean, one positive, Gradney, 3 picks in a row, feels like he's Ford out there when he was on his run, getting all the picks and stuff. I mean, that's awesome. I'm so happy for him, especially because of the way he's made his way up the depth chart. And
he's definitely earned it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my just a last question for you, Luke, I mentioned it before, the defensive line, we this game was kind of different where their offensive line was huge, right? There's not going to be we're going to be hard pressed to find another Big Sky team that has the weight that these guys do. And they weren't necessarily, they're pretty, they're decently fast for how big they were, but they were pretty round and it's pretty big.
They were more athletic than I thought they'd be.
Me too.
I mean, I thought they were gonna be a bunch of fat guys.
I did too. And they were big.
They could move around, and they're definitely athletic.
Yeah. And so, with our defensive line is not heavy, not big by any means. We have one guy that's over probably 280. Well, probably 2, because Ramos is pretty close to that, and then Gubner. Our ends, they average 235 to 250 maybe. I'm just worried that we have the guys in the town on the defensive line, but are we fast enough on those ends? Are our defensive ends fast enough? Because that's what it came down to is they were going to push our defensive line with how much they weighed and just pure muscle, right? And you can counteract that with us being quicker, right? And I don't think that was something that I saw. And so, and it could be being me in the scheme that they were running, and I think it is too. But just the question that I had is, are we fast enough where if we play these teams that have a big offensive line, that we can counteract that with our speed? And I didn't see it then, but I also know that we're playing a scheme that might not allow for those defensive ends to explode and to use their agility and their quickness as well.
A lot of times we'll have one defensive end whenever he shifts over to that far side of the line. He's the one who's more the speed guy. The other linebacker that comes down, because a lot of times you'll see Gubner get over to almost like a 3 technique also, and then whoever other defensive end, he's in a 3 technique, and then it's that outside linebacker that comes down, whether it's Wilson or Giannicaro, and be almost that other defensive end, like it's a forefront. He's standing up, but he's rushing right away. But he's right at that tackle tight end spot. And so it turns out their D end almost into a defensive tackle, even though he's technically not. But in this, and especially in this game, it was so much know your assignment. Don't blow up the field too far, because if you do, they're going to hit us right underneath, because they have so many options there. And I think that's why maybe they looked a little slower. But in that second half, when whoever decided, all right, go to the mesh point, because we had that told me, okay, we got the speed to get there, because it's hard to do, to get to the mesh point wherever they're doing that is hard to do. And all of a sudden, they started doing it. The energy the defense had too, that whole second half, I felt like we're not going to lose this game. These guys are flying around. They're going to make sure that, they felt like we're going to stop it. The only thing that bothered me, and I'm sure it's just a coverage thing, it was 4th and forever.
4th and 27.
Yeah, and then the backs almost looked like they were running
prevent,
and I was like, no. And I know that's not what it was. It's the zone they're running back there, but when they got it, it was like, let me run it again, and it worked the next time. And partially because we rushed the quarterback that next time. But It just
Prevent never works.
oh, man, it just scared me. And that's not what that defense is at all.
No.
But it felt like that because we put them right at the line. I was just like, oh my God, make the play. When we were flying around hitting so much, that's when I'm like, why change it when things are working? I know we don't want to get beat deep, but geez, it's
Yeah, exactly. That they had some big, they had like a 4th and 27 and then a 3rd and long as well that they got too, which was like, holy cow, like what in the world is going on? We got to stay positive, and and it's kind of hard saying we're 3-0, but we're really not 3-0.
Why is it hard to be 3? We're 3-0.
No, but we're 3-0, but it doesn't count towards our record though in the end.
It just doesn't count to the playoffs. That's all.
No, but we are 3-0. But honestly, we're 2-0 when it comes to the playoffs, though.
It doesn't matter. We have an opportunity in front of us to play.
We do.
UC Davis, Idaho, Sac State, and the Kitties. And if we do our job there, all that stuff will work out.
Okay. I'm just saying that it doesn't count. It counts, but it doesn't count. Like honestly, like that's what I'm just throwing out there.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on those coin flip games? I can't talk now. Coin flip games. Are you still saying that Sac State, Idaho, UC Davis, and I think we both agreed that Cat game was kind of a flip just because of the rivalry, but we were kind of like,
So I still think we're going to beat Davis.
Okay.
I think we might lose to Idaho. That's the one that really worries me. Actually, is the Idaho game. I think we beat Sac State in our house this year.
Okay.
I really do. I mean, we should have beat them last year, but we didn't have. Things went weird in that game.
Yeah.
So I think we beat them, and then the last game against the neighbors, I still think could be a coin flip, but I really think we're going to beat them too. So, I mean,
yeah.
The Idaho game I think scares me the most. I haven't watched them, but I just keep seeing them climb up the different stat sheets and everything else. And Coach Eck, I think, is a great coach and motivates his players very well. So that's the one that scares me the most coming up. But one game at a time, we got to go down and beat NAU first. And I think we can do it.
Yeah, I that UC Davis, that first, not first road game, but that first test, right? Is going to be interesting to see how we play. I think that's a 50-50 game. I don't think that Idaho game is a 50-50 game. I just don't think we match up well with them at all. And I just think that they have our number right now.
I still think we can win, but it's going to.
I think we could.
It's going to take a lot for us to pull that W on. So that's why I'm actually really excited for the next 2 weeks with NAU and Idaho State, because these are teams we played before. Where Ferris, we didn't know jack about them. And I'm sure the coaching staff was trying to figure out, but we didn't. Now there's kind of these opponents we played before. We know the Sky Dome's like down in Flagstaff, and we know kind of Idaho State, definitely a new coach. We kind of know what their whole thing's about. And I think that could help us solidify the offense more and just get the defense even rolling. So that's what I'm hopeful for. I hope that I'm right about that, and we see the offense kind of solidify and get, more of a. It feels like we've been all over
identity.
Let's get an offensive identity, because I feel like we just ran a bunch against Utah Tech because we could.
Yeah.
And so let's do that. And then this last game, it was kind of like, oh crap, we're so behind the sticks. Let's just get out of here with a win. And so that's what we did.
Yeah.
And so I really hope we get some offensive identity this next week against NAU, because we need it.
Yeah. And I think that, the Idaho game, like I said, is probably not a flip. Sac State kind of worries me just because they have a lot of the parts that they like. You really don't know who they are. Like, they have parts. Are they going to play up to their potential, or are they going to flounder because they have, new coaching staff? But it's not a new culture by any means. They have the guys there. Like, it just, it worries me because they definitely have our number. And so I do think that's probably a 50-50 game there. And then, it's a rivalry game. The Cats, that's. They've had our number, and we have to prove that we can beat that team.
Last year,
we beat them here. We beat them here in Missoula.
The year before, we surprised the heck out of them and took him. So
and that's what I said.
Yeah. But the SAC game, like people are going, well, they beat Stanford. Do you know how jacked
No,
they had
no.
their
Yeah.
team up? Because Stanford is off this year, but when they're
Oh, yeah,
going to
definitely.
play their old head coach,
Yeah.
they had that extra reason to show up,
Oh, yeah.
show
Oh,
them
yeah.
what's up. You left us. Look what we can do still. So
Well, and Stanford isn't the Stanford
no,
of old by any
it's
means.
it's not. But I would still say that game is more 60-40 us going because we're playing in Washington Grizzly. The fact that we haven't beat them in 4 years, I really think
But see, the only thing with that is that you can kind of be devil's advocate, and where last year was 3, right? So what,
we should have won.
I understand we should have won that game, but I'm just being devil's advocate where you can always just say that, oh, this and this and this, but until we actually prove it, it's just talk.
I've said that a lot. This year's a prove it year. The one thing I think that also benefits us is that because there's so many good teams in the Big Sky this year, everybody's beating up on each other. I mean, this weekend, I think you got the Cats playing Weber. You got
Eastern Washington playing, I think, Idaho.
Yeah, and Eastern looked good this weekend. I watched.
Oh no, was it Eastern Washington playing Idaho, or is it Eastern Washington playing UC Davis?
You got Sac State going to Idaho.
Oh, Sac State. There you go.
Yep, yeah. Sac State's playing Idaho. You got Weber or Montana State going to Weber, and then you got Eastern Washington going to Davis.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is everybody's going to beat up on each other, and our schedule kind of is advantageous that we don't have to play some of them until later. So I'm hoping we stay healthy and, like I said, get things worked out before we get into that brutal part of the schedule.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. Man, this next week's gonna be some good games to watch, some football. If you're around your TV.
The thing is with all these people playing each other, like Sac and Idaho, you got top 10 teams playing there. You got Montana State, Weber State, and so that's just them beating up on each other is gonna help us. We just got to keep winning.
You're definitely gonna see what the Big Sky looks like pretty fast, where you're going to have these huge games that kind of decide things and kind of get things in motion where, we've got 2 games to kind of, do what we need to do and kind of look at those other guys and say, well, we're going to get some film on you.
Business here. And it'll be interesting to see if those games, the other conference games are close or if they beat the hell out of each other, one team really rises up. I mean, if you get Idaho come out and just put beats Sac State by let's say 21, that's a statement. If Montana State, who just barely lost to South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, goes in and gets beat by Weber by 14 or something, well, that flips things around. So I mean, there's just so many things that could happen. Now, do I think this can happen? No, I think the Cats are probably going to go in there and beat Weber. I think Idaho is going to win the SAC game. That's those 2, that's my opinion. I think Davis will beat Eastern Washington, even though Eastern looked pretty good against Sela. They're hard for anybody to go up there and play on that damn ugly red-ass turf and win, especially, when you're not used to it. So, I think Davis, Idaho, and the Kitties will win this weekend.
See, and I think I agree with you. I think Davis will win. I think Idaho will win. I think that the Cats will unfortunately win. But I have a problem with the Kittens quarterback. Would you say he's a backup or he's a starting quarterback now? Sean Chambers on Twitter, man.
I think he deleted. I think he deleted.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like when he said it, and I took a photo of it. I still have it, and I was like, I think I mentioned it to you. I sent it to one of my other friends. Like, are you serious? Like, why do the Cats fans and now the players, like, they just can't get the Grizz out of their mind? And I was trying to talk to my wife about this.
So jealous. I mean, our team having O'Malley there was so jacked because they watch UFC, and here's a Montana kid who is a total Grizz fan. He was having a blast at that game, getting to raise the flag. You saw him on the sidelines just jacked. And then they let him in the locker room afterwards. I thought that was awesome. Because Houck doesn't let a lot of people in, but I mean, he's a world champ. Of course, you can let the world champ in there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was great for recruiting. It was just great for the whole team with that whole thing, and him being psyched and singing the flight song with them too afterwards. That was way cool and just good for us. And that's why Chambers is so pissed, because all eyes were on us because of it. People are talking about it, even though it was a D2 game. They're not getting the attention, and they still feel like little brother, even though they're ranked higher and stuff. They got this complex.
And it's just so weird just because like he basically called out Sean and said, you know, you're going to get knocked out, which then I think Sean did a poll and said, I'm thinking right or left, am I going to knock the next person out, which was definitely towards Sean. But man, like if I'm now the starting quarterback, I'm not going to go to Twitter and be like, oh, I'm going to get everybody riled up because I'm jealous and I can't like dude, you're starting quarterback. Maybe, you know, probably go watch some film and start working on your craft because you're the backup quarterback and your other quarterback just got hurt and from all accounts is not doing well. Well, from what I hear,
from what I hear, he's not doing well either. I don't want to see anybody get hurt and be
and I don't want him to get hurt anyways. But like you can't just start picking fights because now you're the number one on top and it doesn't look good. And it's like just do what you need to do, man. Like you're a good quarterback. You've got the starting role. Like why? What do you have to gain?
Yeah. Well, and that's why.
Go ahead.
Like I was gonna say, people wonder why our players aren't on Twitter a bunch and saying things. They will like things and they might share stuff from the university, but that's about all you're going to get. Mm-hmm. There's a reason for that. Don't be the story. Yep. I'm sure when the coach for the Cats saw that, Vegan was just like, "Oh, are you kidding?" I mean, you see it as a coach, you're just like, "Don't do that." Oh my gosh, don't be so dumb. Yep. And that's why I don't mind that how it keeps a tight ship and press conferences. They thank their teammates and that's about it. Because if we don't give any of that material out there, well, you don't have to worry about it. So don't be the story. Well, Chambers is the story right now because of his just stupid comments. I mean, just again, we're living rent free up there.
It's so crazy. It's nuts. I have not. We need to come up with like a complex. Like there probably is a real complex, but it's crazy.
This is funny since we're talking bashing on the Cats.
Yeah,
I don't mind. My wife's always like, well, "Who are the Cats play this week?" I'm like, "Stetson." Who? I'm like, "Yeah, Stetson. They're Pioneer League school, not the Cologne, Stetson." But I got some inside.
Not the Cologne. I love that.
I got some inside information this weekend. Apparently, Stetson didn't fly in till like 3:35 in the morning.
That's nuts.
The day before the game. Then they bust them to Helena 3 hours
because they had a hotel rooms in Helena.
Yeah, for some reason. Why they should have Stetson should have called like Butler or called us. We'd have told them. I mean, shoot, that one year we bust our benches over to help that team stay warm when they play the Cats.
Exactly.
But they bust to Helena of all places. Then they have to bust back, and apparently they were asking. Stetson was asking MSU if they could push the game back to 4. And MSU, of course, didn't have a choice because of TV things. But there was a serious at one point where they were so concerned about their players being so tired, they were wondering if they could just forfeit the game.
Wow.
And there was some talk of that from what I've been told from my anonymous source from that side of the state, that it was that close to being actually just like forfeited because they were so concerned about the player.
Well, I heard that they showed up like 30 minutes before the starting of the game.
Yeah, it was not a good situation whatsoever.
That's nuts.
Logistically. I mean, someone really messed up on the logistics of that, but I had no idea until I was talking to that person today. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "Can I talk about this?" He's like, "Yeah, just don't say anything about me." I was like, "Okay." So,
I had heard it. I had heard it on. I don't know where I heard it. I think I listened to a little bit of the other Grizz fan podcast, and they talked about it a little bit too. So
I hadn't gotten a chance to listen to theirs yet, but I just that's wild. The team would. Yeah. You think they would call somebody? I can't. Like, we are always ready to help you out if you're playing the Cats.
Oh, yeah.
Give us a call. Any team out there is playing, give University of Montana a call. We will answer your questions, or heck, ask us. We'll help you out. We know the state of Montana. It's like,
yep.
I just thought that was pretty wild, but we can quit talking about those idiots over there.
Oh man! So you ready to get into NAU? You got a game this week.
I am. I'm pumped about it. I'm excited because I got to watch some film on NAU.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I could call it film though, because I picked the wrong game. Like I wasn't going to spend too much time because I'm busy and trying to do all these things. But I did watch the probably half the Utah Tech game,
Yeah.
and now half I'm like I'm not watching this. Like basically NAU shot themselves in the foot constantly in that game, and they just ran back interception after fumble.
Yeah. 6 turnovers.
It was ridiculous.
I don't care who you are, it's hard to win a game. 6 turnovers.
Yeah.
But there was some things that I took from that game that I saw offense, defense. I also watched some of the Arizona film, and I should have watched, like we were talking about this offline, more of that North Dakota film. I didn't watch much of that game at all, mainly the Arizona one. And the Utah Tech interested me just because of the fact we just played them, and there's that like opponent, just trying to see some of that in those same people. But I mean, there's some definitely playmakers. Number 5, the running back, that kid, he's got good burst. Has
Devin Starling.
Made some large runs. He likes to go to the edge and make guys miss. I mean, the guy's got speed. So our edge rushers are going to have to contain him because he does. I mean, if he gets out there, especially if we're in man, he can be down the field before we know it. So that's really somebody to watch out for. They did play 2 quarterbacks this last game, but it seems like 2 is their main guy. I think he got yanked because he was just struggling.
Yeah. K. Milner, he's the Cal transfer. Mm-hmm. He used to be a 4-star prospect. He's really done not overall like well, but 38 to 64, 458 yards with 2 touchdowns and an average of about 152 yards a game. I think he has had a hard time like making sure that the ball's safe.
Well, and what I've noticed is if you get pressure on him, that's when his accuracy really, really goes south. I mean, and people might say, well, anytime you get pressure, but I mean, really goes south for him. If he's got a clean pocket, that's when he'll sit there and pick you apart. Like if he's not getting any, but you start hitting him and getting in his face a little bit, he starts getting them happy feet, and then all of a sudden, 2 isn't keeping his eye on the ball from the center snap as much. And so I think if we can pressure him and knock him on his ass a bunch of times, even if we're not sacking him, he's gonna have a long day, and we're gonna have a good day, and we could hopefully do like Utah Tech, and Gradney can get another pick, and maybe some other people.
The wide receiver Coleman Owen is the leading wide receiver in the Big Sky, and he kind of worries me. He's had 18 receptions for 261 yards and a touchdown. He's got 87 yards average right now. He's definitely got some quickness to him. Good wide receiver. I think that I totally agree with you that we're going to have to get some pressure on Milner to get in his head and not want him to take the time, because it doesn't look like what I saw. He does not want to stay in the pocket and get hit.
No,
in fact, what I've seen,
if he gets pressure, he likes to run. He likes to run a lot and run it out there. But they'll spread us out too. I mean, I saw him going 5 wides at times. But they also, with their run game, they like to pull everybody. Like they'll pull the guards, they'll pull the tackles, they'll pull the center. They're always pulling guys and trying to get around to get those linebackers blocked. So that's our linebackers are going to have to do a good job at shedding blocks. And that's where I hope, we were talking about our speed of our D line. If these linemen are pulling away, we can get down the line and interrupt those plays, so that helps our linebackers out.
Well, and one play that they always they did a lot with their running back is they would have their quarterback in shotgun, and then I think it was on his right-hand side, and they would run across the quarterback, and so going the long way. I just think that's not going to be conducive with our defense. Our defense is going to blow that up. You're going to have linebackers in on that are going to blow that up. You cannot go crossways and have that kind of type of long standing kind of run play kind of work itself out. You just can't. You have to go straight up. You cannot do that with this kind of a defense.
Yeah, I think our defense could have a heyday out there. The last time we played in the walkout Sky Dome, I think that was when Pat O'Connell really broke out. He had a heck of a game. So I could see our defense just, really lighting these guys up. And I think our team kind of likes playing there. I know Bobby does, because he coached there for a while and stuff. And I think
wasn't it the game that O'Connell ran back a fumble?
For a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I think the camera's right there as he's putting his arms out. Like,
yeah, he was just, yep.
So I really think our defense could, have a heyday out there and do some nice special things.
Exactly. Well, and just to let you guys know, there are 3 games that they've played. They lost 38-3 against Arizona. It wasn't even not even close. 37-22 against North Dakota, which North Dakota has a good team.
Yeah, they're a good school.
And then they lost 50-36 against Utah Tech, which if you look at that, like 6 turnovers, you're going to have a hard time beating no matter who with that amount of turnovers. And a lot of those turnovers, a couple of them went for touchdowns, which that would have made a lot more difference in that
one
game.
One of them, 2 through the pick. And there's 2 things I noticed on that play when I was watching it. The intercepting team on Utah Tech's running it down, and I saw guys giving up on NAU.
Yeah.
Not hustling. Now, that being said, 2 got knocked down, jumped back up, and hustled all the way down there to the goal line and tried tackling him, quarterback. Now, he may have just been pissed because he threw that pick. So that was, good effort play by him. But the rest of the team, if you watch, they all start slowing up and aren't going hard. Unlike our team, where you see people just flying to the ball all the time because they know that they're going to get their tail chewed if they don't. But there's that sense of quit in NAU, which I watch for when I love watching the film because you can see that where they're kind of giving up and it's like, oh God, this again. Instead of, even when you're in times of adversity, you need to still step up, and they don't quite do that. So we could really take advantage of that.
It's interesting because I believe, and if I'm not mistaken, and let me know if I'm not, didn't NAU have the most FBS drop downs this last year?
No, I think you're right. I think I heard that.
Because I think that they did, and I think that bringing so many people from a different culture to their culture, they've had, NAU has had a lot of great prospects and a lot of talent dropping down. I just don't think they've really developed that talent and really done a conducive job of doing that. I remember back in the good old days, I guess NAU was a force. You go to the dome and you're just like, that's gonna be a close game. Yeah. Now it's just like they're not a good team. It's just not good.
All those transfers, it takes the right coach, because I used to be advocate about you can't do that. Well, Dion has proved us all wrong. You can do that. And I think it's awesome what they're doing over in Colorado and how, but he's like, Dion's the type of guy that's a super motivator of players and will get the best out of them.
Yeah.
You have to have the right person to be able to bring, especially when you bring a ton of transfers, you got to be able to bring everybody together and get them on the same page, going the right direction.
Yeah.
All together as one team. And that's sometimes when you do that and bring all these people in from FBS, well, I'm the superstar. I'm the superstar. I'm the superstar. I'm the superstar. And that's where it can screw things up.
Yeah. And I like somewhat, I think like Dion, some of that is a front, and some of it is actual true. I think, he doesn't mind being in the limelight and being, primetime, right? And I think that he'll take some of that off of his players and give that to his players when they do well. But I think, I don't know, I'm not sold on Colorado, and we can we're going to go into that. I guess we're going into that late another time, but I'm not bought into what they are right now, just 3 games in. They're doing a great job, and he's done an amazing job of pumping that brand up to where it used to be a powerhouse. I'm not gonna quite believe it just yet, but
I believe, baby. I believe. I'm on board. I was like, man, I would love to play for that guy. So,
yeah, it would be.
I gotta admit, I was surprised with that Colorado game, and I stayed up till almost 1 a.m. watching it. It was one heck of a game, but it's we'll see. I mean, they got kind of like us. They got some tests coming up. They got USC. They got Oregon. We'll see what happens with those guys, but. Back to NAU.
Exactly.
One interesting thing I noticed in their defense, watching their defense, they run a 3 front mainly, where they got this, and I can't remember his number, but he's got long hair coming about out the back, and he's their nose tackle that's usually over the center, and he does a pretty good job at pushing the center back. So our boys are going to have some their work cut out with that guy up front. But I noticed in the Arizona game, they got tight splits down there where the nose tackles are the nose, and then the two tackles are over the guards, running more of kind of a traditional 3-4 front, if you will. Yep. Now against Utah Tech, and I think this is part of the reason they changed, is they're expecting kind of like we thought, the air raid, and Utah Tech came out running the ball again, which surprised me in that game. But they had wide splits. They had their nose tackle, and then their defensive ends were way out in like 5 techniques on the edge of the tackles, leaving this big open in the center. And they had all the DBs back there because they're waiting for this air raid. So my guess is we're going to see more of that Arizona front because, as you said, we run the ball more than anybody in the conference. So they're going to expect us to run the ball.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping for is if we show up and they stack the box like that and they got, let's say, 9 in the box, that we start pitching it all over the field on them because Utah Tech can do it. If Utah Tech can throw the ball against them, we should be able to throw the ball against these guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And also, they have a Alex McLaughlin. Their leading tackler is a freshman, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Like a true freshman, I believe. 23 tackles, 0.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, I believe. I believe, if I was not mistaken, it is a freshman, so that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, they have some talent. Like that team has always had talent. It's not like they can't play. It's just, will they show up?
Yeah, I think with them, you can make them not want to be there anymore.
Yep.
I kept saying that last week that we want to do that with Ferris State. We didn't do it. Those guys are coached well. Those guys, all they know is winning, and they played their tails off. Like we never took the football out of those guys at all. This week, after watching them, you can do that.
There's a breaking point. There's a breaking point.
They definitely have a breaking point where they don't want to be there anymore. And if we do that, it's going to be a long day for NAU and a great day for the Grizzlies.
Yep. Yeah, their kick returner, too, just a guy to watch out for, George Steele. He's had 4 attempts for 83 yards. He's averaging about a little over 20 yards a kick return. So kind of interesting to look at him. I don't think we'll have a problem.
For a while, too, I think. I recognize that name.
Yeah. And our we've been kicking. Glasgow's been kicking out of the end zone anyway, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. And with the air up there, it's just going to go anyways. So
that's what I noticed with that Utah Tech game is either one who was kicking, they were both booting it out the end zone. I mean, it seems like it's always that way up there.
Oh yeah,
which will be interesting to see if our Lawrence or our kicker. I always keep Glasgow from Lawrence, Kansas. I always go Lawrence. I'm thinking Lawrence, Kansas. We'll get some opportunities to kick some deep balls because he's got a good. We've talked about that. He kicks the ball well, comes off his foot nice. So,
his long this year was 49 at Wadriz, right? That's first field goal.
So I'm sure he's going. Ooh, turf indoors, high elevation.
Yes,
Let me kick a 50-yarder. Let me kick a 55.
Let's try 60, coach.
Yeah, I could just see him going, come on, let me do it once, just give me a shot. But with their defense too, I noticed I feel like they're susceptible to that deep ball. And we've had some flashes where guys are getting open if they can get some separation, because they usually run man 3 deep zone where they got they're manned up on the outside and they got zone from the safeties. And so if we can get it where someone makes a mistake back there where the guy that thinks they have man and they break off wrong, we could have some wide open guys. And if we get Sam back there feeling good, he could throw some dimes and we could see some big plays, I think, this weekend. And that's one thing I'm hoping to see is some big plays, because I think there's that big play potential of us playing against NAU's defense.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a matter of fact of, will the coaching staff, what will their game plan be? Like, and that's what this year has been so far, is what are we going to do? What is the offense going to look like? Because I don't really like, you think that, okay, three games in, guys, and we said this last game is, hey, by the Idaho State game, we should have a clear picture. Well, I don't really have a clear picture, even though I think we're more run heavy right now, just because, is it just because who we're playing, or is it that, this is us? Because I think Utah Tech kind of like we're gonna run no matter what with them, and then they just like, well, we can out bolster Ferris State, and that was not going to happen. And so
in the Butler game, it was like passing the first half, running the second half.
Exactly.
So I don't know what our offensive identity is.
We need to find one quick.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that in the next 2 games we find one. And,
yeah,
well,
they're both dome games, right? Because it's at Idaho State, right?
For some reason, here I got it right here. Just 1 second. You keep talking. I'm looking.
Yeah. So NAU, it's going to be, I believe it's on ESPN Plus, guys. It is go here. It is a 2:00 Mountain Standard Time. It's actually going to be on the Montana Television Network, but ESPN Plus as well.
Does that mean we get Marty back? Because
I hope so.
I hope we get. I like Marty. That Idaho State game is in Missoula. Because I believe
it is. Okay, cool.
Homecoming. I think that
is. I believe that is homecoming too.
Yeah.
But so the next 3 games are the next 3 games are on the Montana Television Network. So hopefully we have him back, because I'm
a big fan of Marty Morningwig. So I hope we get him back.
I love listening to Marty, his stories, and just like he reminds me like the Dick Vitale of football.
Great. It's great.
Like I just love it, man.
I can see that. I love it. So I haven't heard yet, because I hadn't listened to Coulter's show yet, but I'm sure they'll probably say something about it, would be my guess. Because last year, once it transferred to MTN, that's when we got Marty up there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, what are we gonna? You want to give the keys of the game for this NAU game, and then we can kind of go into our predictions and then go into fan questions?
Sure, that sounds good to me. Okay. I think our keys for defense is getting to the quarterback, and then stopping 5 and not letting him get out to the boundary, containing him, and then really just playing fast, strong defense. If we get these guys and hit them hard, we're going to take that football out of them quickly, and especially if we can get to that quarterback and get him jacked up. Even if they put the other guy in, either one of them, I think that we could get some picks, and we could, make them have a long day. And I think that's big key. Make sure that the NAU offense has a long day out there.
I totally agree with you. And that's what I had down is get to the quarterback. I want a fast and a good start. No matter if it's defense or offense, I want it quick. I want this over where they're going to be like, what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes gone by, we're already down 7 or 10-0. Like, serious? Yeah. I want a good fast start, and then I want us to open up the playbook no matter what, and let's find an identity. Let's take advantage of our wide receivers. Let's see what Fonts and Bergen and Racanelli and White can do. Open it up, wide receivers, those 4-man fronts with Eli Gilman in the back, and let's do this, right? Let's figure out what our offense can do and see what Sam can do. And if you want to have another facet of this offense, throw the other quarterback out there and see what kind of packages. Because I've heard some people say, well, we can't have 2 quarterbacks out there. Well, no, that's not true. I believe that there's ways that you can use him and use both of those guys out there on the field. It's not going to be every down, but there's got to be some packages where you use both of them. I think, but that's just me.
But I agree. I think that.
Go ahead. Oh, I thought you said.
Oh, I was just going to say I agree with you. I think that I think my screen. I think that if we can do a dual package with both of them out there, I think that could throw offenses off. And I'm surprised because I know Bobby likes to put stuff on film at times just to make sure people have to practice it. And so I'm kind of surprised we haven't done that yet. Haven't had a formation. Maybe we just haven't had the game situation where we could do that. But what I'm really,
it's not like we haven't ran 2 quarterbacks in the I believe like 2008 or 2009 when we had Sell and Roper, I believe it was, that we still had those double quarterbacks, and we've done it with other quarterbacks where we've had 2 quarterback system where one was more throw and one was more run. I believe in 2009 and 2008 that was the thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like we can't do it, and it's not like Houck doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah. No, I think what I'd like to see too is definitely it feels like we're more run first team right now.
Yeah.
Right. With the stable running backs we have. But I'd love to see where it's 50-50 this game. 50% run, 50% pass. And it's like, okay, if we have 30 passes, we have 30 runs instead of being so lopsided like this last game where I was wrong. I thought for sure they were more susceptible to pass and we'd throw the ball. And boy, it sure seemed we moved the ball down the field when we did do that. So
yeah, we did. Even when they didn't call it a catch.
Yeah. So I hope that the fact that we could see Utah Tech moving the ball and some of these other teams moving the ball through the air, that we open it up a little bit more and let Sam have the reins and go for it. That's what I'd like to see.
Exactly. Amen, man. All right, Luke, what's your score, man? Let's go to predictions.
Okay. So I've got Grizz winning 41-10.
Okay, 41-10. And I added it up. I don't know if we should count the Ferris State one. Like, I think I wound up winning by 3 points, but we were not even close.
No, that's
to that
I was
score.
like,
that's like an.
I was so
that's
far.
That's like an omit one. Like that was horrible, by our account. But I think it's going to be 35-13.
Oh, it's interesting that you say that. I did the Versus app, and they have it at 31-13, Grizz.
Oh,
so you're real close to what the old Versus app thinks.
What did they say last? Like, didn't they say we were like 3 or 4 touchdown winner?
I think it was just 14-point win. Let me take a peek real quick. It was way closer than both of us were comfortable with.
Yeah,
35-21.
Oh wow. Okay,
is what they had us winning by 35-21. So
dang,
that's a lot closer than we had. I mean,
that was a way low.
So
all right.
Now, one thing I want to throw out there that I like this little Versus app to see kind of their metrics and stuff.
Yeah.
So just want to throw it out there for Grizz fans listening. They rank their own FCS based off the metrics.
Okay.
And so here's what the rankings are right now, according to the Versus app. South Dakota State 1, North Dakota State 2, Sacramento State 3.
Oh.
The Grizz at 4, William and Mary 5, Montana State 6, Weber 7, and then Davis is at 10. And this is what surprised me is Idaho. They have way down at 23rd.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Why?
I don't know. I don't understand.
Does that go off of like what they're
I think it's the fact that they lost to Cal and they thought they were going to beat Cal. This app did. I don't know.
Wow.
It shows that Idaho's power is 4, offense is 7, defense is 9. Then they have Eastern at 25th. But if you go to ours, they've got our power at 13, offense at 40, defense at 4. So I'm like, did they screw up on us? Because I feel like we're high at 4 for some reason.
That's really high.
Yeah,
and
they
Sac State at 3.
Yeah, Sac State at 3 with power of 7, offense 5, defense 12. I think that's because they beat Stanford, but it's this app, like I said, as the season goes on, it seems to get more accurate. But I was surprised to see that this week, and I just wanted to share it because it was kind of the opposite of what the talking heads out there in the media are thinking. Not ours, but like the national media going, we even rank the Grizz anymore, because they didn't watch the game. They just see a box score and go, oh, this. So I'll quit bashing on them. Enough of that, because I actually get along great with Sam. I've talked to him a few times. And
he's a nice enough guy, and he'll give you time and talk to you about it. But if you're not going to watch the game, and I'm pretty sure he probably did. Now there's some other people that don't, and just look at the D2 and probably say, you're not going to.
It felt like he didn't this week, because he's like, I'm on my way to Europe or something. And
he probably didn't.
Like one who I really like is Big Mac. Brian McLaughlin. I really like his takes, and him and I've talked many times
Yeah,
about
he's a good guy.
He'll have a great conversation with you. Yeah, he's a great guy. So I like his takes a lot on stuff because he'll actually watch the games.
Oh yeah, he watches a lot of football. We've actually had him on the podcast as well, and he's a good guy and
Great guy.
Really good knowledge of a lot of things. As he did a lot of recruiting for Hero Sports back in the day, and amazing what he's done. And definitely go check him out because it's good stuff. So, you want to go into some fan questions?
Sure.
All right. So I know that you have some, and then I have some on Twitter, and then also on eGriz.
So one of them, let me find it here. Sorry.
That's all right.
So from Shay Rosberg, he was asking, him and I were talking back and forth, and he's like, you could talk about this. It seems like we were trying our best to use the run game to set the pass up last week, and it was not working at all. And so he's like, why don't we use the pass to set up the run game? And I kind of have to agree with him. I feel like last week, I think it was been more advantageous of us to use the pass to help set up the run because they were, even though it didn't look like it, because they were having guys drop down, but they were bringing 9 in the box, and that's just going to stuff your run. If they got that many people in the box, you need to throw the ball. And there was guys getting open. So we'll see if we do that this week, but I think that was a good point that he made. Yeah,
well, and it kind of goes into it, like, did our coaching staff see that, and were we out coached there? Like, if we didn't see that, like, that's huge. Like, that's really big. Like, 9 in the front, you would think you would pass, and I totally agree. Shay, you said Shay?
Yeah, Shay.
Totally agree with him that we should be doing that, no matter what. Even if you think we are a running team, if it's not working, you just don't keep on doing it. That's the definition of insanity.
All right. My wife was asking me during the game, she's like, why do they keep running the ball? Like, well, let me pause this. I go, right now, they've only got like 5 or 6 in the box. I go, the problem is, as soon as they have the ball, these other guys come right down in, and all of a sudden we got 9 in the box. I was like, I can see it.
Yeah.
Our coaches should be able to see that. I don't know why they're not doing this. So,
who
knows? I mean, the one thing about Ferris, they are very well coached. There's a reason why they've won so many games. I don't care. I don't care what level of football you're playing. If you're winning that many games, you're doing something right.
That's like 90. Like their head coach was like 90% of games that he's won.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It's just wild.
Very nuts. So,
yeah.
Awesome question. We've got one here. Now I've got to find it.
All right, I've got another one if you want me to go.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this was a question from Lane again. He says, do you see the football program using the NIL to their advantage to bring in talent? I know we're fairly active in the portal, but just a question. So with that NIL, you and I talked to good old Grizzlies. Well, that just relaunched again.
Exactly.
And I was listening to Riley, and he'd had Kent on, and it's a big deal right now. So here's a great example. Our soccer team just got a 3-year NIL deal for the whole team, for everybody to get money. And so the same thing is happening with football. But what people need to do, if we want to get involved in this, is go on there, and then you can either donate to the NIL collective and go to the players, but people can also go in there and set up individual NIL deals too for individual players and stuff. But it is definitely active. And like Kent said, he goes, we can support it as far as like telling people about it. They just can't be involved with it. It has to be a separate entity from the university as far as like they can help as far as getting the players out there and letting them know about it, but they can't like actually go, yeah, come in here and do this and help them get an NIL deal. That's why we have the collective.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting. I would like to listen to that because how has it changed? Because, when we first had him on, it was more like community based and kind of like you do these community outreaches and you get money for it.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how that has changed since it
sounds like there's still some nonprofit in it too, but there's also this other piece too. And I think it was on, what is it? The Grizz Den with Riley. Yeah, so he had Kent on one of those. I think it was just last week, maybe, and he really got into it more. And it's a good pod to listen to if you want to find out more about NIL, because Kent explained it very well, I thought, just as far as how it's working. And I thought it was so cool that, because it isn't just about football. That
Yeah.
NAL could be for any sport. So if you want to help golf out or track or whatever, and just seeing how well our girls soccer program's doing, to hear that they've got
Amazing.
a
52nd. They're ranked 52nd in the nation.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How cool is that? That they're 52nd and they get the first big NAL deals, our soccer team. You think of the football team, it's that. So it's definitely active, and it will help get people in here.
Oh yeah. It's definitely going to put our women's soccer team on the map.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
And football is working too, and so we'll get more people in here from football. But I mean, even though this weekend was D2, we had some recruits there. That night game with that crowd, and then O'Malley being there. I mean, that's
top notch.
It's hard to beat that stuff.
Exactly. This one is go Grizz or go home. Wanted to get your guys' thoughts on how the refs were in the game. Don't get me wrong, they got a lot of calls right in the field, but it seemed like they were trying to dictate every play, every snap of the game. I feel like it was kind of I think a lot of the harder plays that we said, that knee down, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And it was a good call. I don't understand Bergen's catch. There were a lot of holding calls that they could have called that were missed that would have changed that game. Like they probably could have had at least 5 or 6 more holding calls in that game.
And there's so many just ball bouncing the right way, weird ass stuff in that game besides just the ref. Like I said, it was 3rd and forever. We sacked the guy. He drops the ball and it gets kicked down to the first down and they get on it. I'm like, when does that ever happen? I've never seen, it's like, geez. Or when we're sacking him and he throws the ball up in the air over the top of his head, and it goes, throws it out of bounds so that it's not grounding. But usually when that happens, it goes in the field of play and you're getting, it was just like, how lucky can you get? Or did you have the awareness to know that you were perfect there and get it to the right? That stuff baffled me. The holding calls that we didn't get are just ridiculous. And I still don't get the Bergen thing. And
I don't get how they can throw a flag
and throw a flag. Yeah.
And that's what makes me feel like, it was totally dictated. Like the refs got in it and we're like, okay, this is what's going to happen. Like it did not make any sense at all.
So strange.
And it just totally, and Houck hates this, right? You could see him and they said it on the stream too, is Bobby hates, these long, reviews, and he's just sitting there just like, you could tell he's getting pissed. That, a lot of the momentum was sucked out of that game because of the reviews and the penalties and stuff like that.
There was a few times we had changed possession. It's like, oh, they got to review that. And it's like, oh my, you just pull it, or big plays. And they're like, oh, we got to look at targeting here. I'm just like, good Lord, come on.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading through here. There was a lot of people commenting on stuff. Oh my gosh.
Is that on or what's that on?
No, this is just Twitter. Like I was commenting Kyler Neal on the FCS Fans Nation network, and him and I were going like after it, and how he's not a fan of the Grizz. So and he was just kind of throwing things out there, and I was just like, no, that's not right. But let's see. Sorry, guys. Let's go to eGriz and I'll look at that one. So it says, with a lack of D-line depth, who are the candidates to convert?
So we did this weekend, and I'm trying to
remember.
We had one offensive lineman come over.
No, it wasn't a offensive lineman. It was a tight end. It was Schaefer.
Was it tight end? Okay.
Yeah, it was Schaefer.
Schaefer?
Schaefer, yeah. I think he was a tight end. Why not use Ramos more? I totally agree with that. He's a great combination of size, strength, and athleticism. Doesn't it make sense to go to an occasional 4-man line against the power running teams with running QBs? Yeah, I totally get that. Ramos is really young, and I don't think that we'll play a young player. And we've played him in spurts. But I think he's a little bit raw, and I think he's got the talent and the size and the strength, where he was committed to Colorado State until that new coaching staff kind of came in there, and then he got cut.
I think that the coaching our staff knows that we're thin there.
Yeah.
And that's why we had the tight end. I thought he was an offensive lineman. Tight end come over, and I could see Ramos getting some more playing time and stuff because they've flat out said that they don't want Governor playing every snap. They just can't.
No,
you can't. Effective if you do that. He needs some plays. He needs to be spelled a little bit. So, I mean, if we have some offensive linemen that played D line when they were in high school, or started off playing D line when they were a redshirt freshman for us that went back to offensive line. So we have some of those people I think we could move over if we had to. I think we're hesitant to do that, right away. But at the same time, you don't want to be doing that in the middle of the season. All of a sudden it's like, well, hey, go learn how to do this real quick.
Yeah.
I'd rather see us bring some guys over and get them some time on that side of the ball if we're thinking about doing that, and have a two-way player, if you will. I mean, my boy Dion's doing it now. He's out now, that Hunter guy. But it's like you could have someone that could go play both ways if you needed to a little bit. Like, especially if they're not a starter on the offensive line, we need help on the defense. Why not use them? Especially if they have experience, whether it's from high school or their beginning of their college career. Now, I'm not
throw something different out there, right?
I'm not saying we should take Walker off the offensive line. That guy's killing it out there.
No.
He used to be a D lineman. Let him do his thing. He's an offensive lineman now. But some of our maybe
third, fourth string offensive linemen. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. MT Grizz Rule. That was that first question there. He has a couple more here. If Houck were to vacate the head coaching job, would you want, I can't pronounce his name, the Ferris State's head coach, Ansey, for 5 to 10 years? He's a proven winner. He obviously finds big talented DL and OL, which play with attitude. I would take him, but I honestly want someone a little bit younger. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't think Houck's going anywhere unless something really major happens. I would be really surprised.
He gets some offer you can't. I mean, everybody has their offer they can't refuse.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, if something like that happened, I could see him going. I mean, he seems pretty happy here. Yeah. He's done the circuit, so only time can tell. I mean, if we go win a national championship this year, then I can see him going, okay, leave it on top. I'm going to go do this thing or something, because I've seen coaches. Yeah. Or you go, okay, I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay. But whenever that time comes, and it'll come someday when Houck does leave, we're going to have people like that coach from Ferris. He said how much in those press conferences. He's like, I'd love to coach here. If Houck retires, I'll apply tomorrow, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it deserves that national search too, though. Like I would hope do a national search and just open it up and see what could happen. Well, a few times because Chip Kelly was going to come here at one point and could have had the job, and we went with I think we went with Stitt then. So that was a miss.
And I just think that it's going to be interesting to see, because this is Houck's last year on his contract. It'll be interesting to see what happens if we don't do as well as we thought. What happens with the coaching staff? What happens with Houck? I don't think that we're not going to have Houck next year. Does he only get a year? Those things you really can't tell what's going to happen. It's just have to play out themselves. It is interesting to talk about, and I love talking about it, but we're not going to know until after the season, probably June or July, probably a little sooner. You would hope a little sooner, probably maybe March, April.
Well, if he was going to leave, we'd know early But anyways, we're 3-0. We're about to become 4-0 if we play NAU right. That's what I guess we should be more concerned about.
So we got a couple more questions that he has out here. He's got like 5 or 6 questions. So why so few quick hitting slants, outs, ins with Houck's teams, regardless of who is the OC? Yeah, we saw a couple of those at Utah Tech, and then they kind of went away with them. They were open all night with Utah Tech. And I think when Houck kind of gets in his mind, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this. I don't think there's too much straying. And I think that kind of is the downfall, is we're true to the core and where we don't change. We don't change on the fly very much, and we're not able to do those things. And I think that's kind of, we're stuck into this kind of 2000 era football where things don't change. That's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, I still don't know what our identity is.
Yeah.
I feel like we ran the ball at Utah Tech because that's how to beat those guys. There were plays that we missed on because of our line not creating and Sam not stepping up like he should, where guys were open at slants and some other things that we missed.
Yeah.
So I just would really like us to open up the passing game this weekend and find some type of identity. Now, whether that's, I mean, we're going to run the ball for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to see it 50-50, not 80-20. You know, it's like, let's go 50-50 run pass game. The play action really started to work for us in that second half of that Ferris game. I'd like to see some more play action, especially with the amount of we've been running the ball. Let's run some play action. Everybody's coming down, and it's like that's going to open people up and hit those playmakers like Fonts and Bergen. And I mean, I don't even think Racanelli caught a pass this last weekend.
I didn't even see him on the field, but I also didn't see that Riley Wilson.
Wilson didn't even suit up. I don't know.
Suit up. So.
Someone asked him in the press conference. He just shut it down. So I'm not sure if he's hurt or he got in trouble, or I don't want to speculate. I have no idea what happened, but
yeah, hopefully he's not hurt.
I hope he's okay with whatever it may be.
Yeah,
he could have had the flu. I mean, it's like you don't know what the heck it was, but he didn't suit up.
He says right here, or she, I don't know if it's he or she, but I'm just saying it's probably a he. But what will it take for more quick patterns? We kind of mentioned that. You know, I think that we have Bergen, who would be an amazing quick slant, quick whatever pattern, and also White.
Yeah,
would be good there too. Yeah. Like we have so many good wide receivers.
Yeah, we have the people. We just need to do it.
And then Fonts just blows me. He has like talent oozing out of his arms that just throw him deep. Like he's so fast.
Yeah.
And then just Simpson, like he's 6'6" and you don't use him. Use his height.
NAU's really susceptible to deep ball. So I would love to hit some real nice big deep passes for 30-40 yard gains or straight touchdown bombs. So
yeah,
we'll see though. We'll see what happens this weekend.
His last question here is that wouldn't more of these types of plays reduce the QB pressure and allow playmakers be just that? So more of those quick patterns. Like this year, going into this year, we said get the ball to your playmakers, and we are getting it to our running backs.
The thing is like I heard Riley talking about that on like some of his things that he was doing pregame. He's like, yeah, we got to get to the ball to Bergen and get Fonts and get all these guys involved. And we've a little bit, but we really haven't like really blown that up. And there's some glimpses of Sam he throws some beautiful balls that I would love to just see us open up the pass game.
Yeah.
I know we're going to run it still, and we do have really good running backs, but if we're only getting every first down a yard, 2 yards, stop, do something different because it ain't working. We need to do something else, spread them out. So hopefully we learned our lesson this last weekend and we spread them out some more and get the ball down the damn field.
Yeah, I hope so. One thing is this is my question. And I this is what I said. My question is that Ferris team, right? Do they win? Where would you have them in your ranking of Big Sky teams? Would they beat 4 teams? Would they beat 5 teams?
So I think they could beat most of the bottom teams.
Yeah.
I think they could compete with Weber. I don't know I don't think they beat the Cats. and I don't think they beat Idaho.
No.
But I think they could maybe beat Weber, and they beat Davis, I think.
Okay. So, yeah, and I said they would beat the lower teams, Portland State, Idaho State.
Did you see that Portland State game, by the way?
No.
91-0. They beat
them. It wasn't a JUCO. Wasn't it a JUCO?
Some North America, some high school team. It was ridiculous. I'm like, come on.
In their high school stadium.
The week before, they got beat 80-something by Oregon. I'm like, it's ridiculous.
I think that they would probably be that mid-6 team. I think that they would make it a game against Eastern Washington just because of their play and they're dictating it. Mm-hmm. I think it would be pretty close with UC Davis. I would kind of think that would probably be more 40-60 UC Davis. I don't know if they would match up very well with Weber. Now that they both want to do the same thing, but Weber just has so many bigger bodies than them. That would be a tough game. You know, I think they're a mediocre Big Sky team.
Yeah, I really think they beat a lot of FCS teams.
Oh yeah, definitely. So
they got the size and I mean just the will to win too. Those guys don't know how to lose. That's why they never gave up in that game. We could never get them.
And you said that the OVC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue who the OVC has in it, but it's got to be.
Well, I'm just thinking geographic wise, you know. Yeah. Ohio Valley is they're just right above that, being in Michigan.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, they do have some, like, they could be, I guess, the Missouri Valley too. You got like Indiana State over there in Terre Haute and stuff. But they have so many in the Missouri Valley. That's why I thought maybe the Ohio Valley is where a team like Ferris could drop into.
Okay, so here's the Ohio Valley. Lindenwood, which is, I believe, a new FCS.
They beat them.
Tennessee Tech.
They did beat them.
UT Martin.
They give them a game, but they think they'd beat UT Martin.
Tennessee State.
Yeah, they beat them.
Eastern Illinois.
That's their best team, Eastern Illinois. That would be
SEMO. Southeastern Missouri.
I think SEMO's overrated this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think Eastern Illinois and SEMO is probably their best two teams.
Yep, that would be their toughest games.
Yeah, like so they're third in that. They're probably battling out for.
They would be third in that
automatic bid.
Yeah.
Jeez. Gosh, that's crazy.
That's
crazy.
That's how good that team is. They're a good football team.
That's crazy that they don't have an FCS team in Minnesota.
I cannot believe they don't.
They have
and FBS, and that's where they're at.
That's so crazy.
Excuse me.
Now you're getting me cough. Yeah. Well, we got football this weekend. It's got to be here sooner, right?
That's absolutely right. And the good thing is we beat Ferris, so let's get past them. We're 3-0. The opportunity to go 4-0.
Exactly.
I love playing NAU. Like I like playing down there. I mean, that's just a good place to play. They got that guy with the chainsaw cutting stuff up.
That's so awesome.
It's a cool environment. And I think our guys like going down there and playing. And we've had a lot of success there. So I look forward to more success this weekend.
Exactly. Hey guys, we want to be successful too. So get a hold of us on our platforms. On Twitter at fightonmontana, Instagram at fightonmontana, and then you can get a hold of us as well on our reach out to us as personally. But also, we help us with giving us a rate, a review, and subscribe to the podcast. A lot of our listeners listen on Apple, so give us a review there. Go check us out on our YouTube. We're a part of the FCS Fans Nation Network YouTube channel, and there's also some great stuff on there as well. So yeah, thank you for listening. We just can't wait for more.
I got one more nugget that I almost forgot about.
Yes.
So anybody who is actually going to the game this weekend, there will be a GSA tailgate at the NAU game. They announced that today. So I just almost forgot. I had it written down as a note. Almost forgot.
Yeah.
So if you are going to the game, then a lot of people will do the flight down to Phoenix and drive up. They are having the GSA tailgate, and apparently we're hauling a bunch of beer down.
Well, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of Grizz fans down there, anyways. Like
we
always travel really well.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That would be cool.
Sometimes, like I don't think at Utah Tech we weren't allowed to have a tailgate there.
Really? Because it was dry.
Yeah, dry campus.
Oh man.
That's why they wanted to make sure we let everybody know GSA will be putting on a tailgate. So show up. Everybody, if you're going, go over there, have some beers, get a little lubed up before you go to the game, and just cheer on them Grizz as hard as you can.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, guys, until next time, fight on.
Go Grizz.